This is the Jack Murphy Podcast. Here's your host, Jack Murphy.
Welcome to the Jack Murphy Podcast. I'm your host, Jack Murphy. I will be flying solo today. John Garrett, too lazy to work more than one day a week. Alpha, he's got a big acting class today. He's trying to train some future thespians. And my cousin Daniel, he's going on a golf trip or something. So solo today, but that's no problem. We'll hold down the fort. We got a lot to get to. Yesterday afternoon, I was mindlessly scrolling through social media, and I came across a post by a guy. He's sitting there, and the script is overlaid over him, and I read it, and I really liked it. I thought it was very poignant. Let me give you a minute to look at it here. Day one of my high school history class, our professor got up and said, "You're 15 or 16 years old. 200 years ago, people your age were married, planted crops, had children, and built a cabin by winter. You can do your homework. The bar set for you historically is embarrassingly low. You're not dealing with regional famine or plague. You do not have to save your family from marauders or go into battle to destroy your enemies. You have to sit down and learn from someone who cares about you in a safe, air-conditioned room. You have no excuses." And I just thought that was great, and then I got down there and saw his foot. He paints his toenails. How could someone with so much common sense, a man, paint their toenails? I'm against it. I mean, you can do whatever you want, but I'm against men painting their toenails or their regular nail. It just goes against the grain for me. If that's old-fashioned, I'm sorry. So, boy, the NBA, they got a really big problem. I don't know if you saw the story. It'd be hard to miss it, but there's really they swept them all up in one FBI raid. But there's really two scandals here. There's an NBA player scandal, and in fact, the main player involved is a former Charlotte Hornet. But basically, here's what happened. They would find out if players were going to play or not, or if they weren't feeling good or whatever. And in some cases, they would actually take themselves out of the game saying, "Oh, my foot's hurt. I can't play anymore." And what they were doing, they were giving other people this information, and they were betting the under or the over on the point spread. And at some point, somebody began to notice that, hey, why are all these bets pouring in on the under on this one particular player over and over and over? And so the FBI got involved and found out, tied up with the mafia some way. Now, the other one is the Portland Trail, as if Portland didn't have enough problems already. That place is a hellhole. I mean, it's a beautiful city that they've just absolutely destroyed. But the Portland Trailblazers head coach, Chauncey Billups, who I saw Shaq talking about him, and he said it was just terrible. He goes, "Look, everybody knows the rules, and I feel bad that they have tarnished the game, their own reputations, hurt themselves, their families, because he'll never work in basketball again." He was involved in a totally different thing. It was an illegal card game, high-stakes poker game that was connected to the mob. And they were using a fixed shoe. You know, when you go to the casino and depending on where you go, they used to put 2 decks in. I think now they put 6. If you put 6 decks in and you're playing blackjack, it makes it, except for, 1/100th of 1% of the world, makes it almost impossible to count cards. But they had a deck shoe that they could manipulate. Not only that, they had a table set up so that they could X-ray. They had an X-ray under the table so they could read everybody's cards. And it was involved with the mafia as well. So they're in a lot of trouble. Obviously, the NBA's placed them both on leave, but they're going to be charged with federal, crimes, probably some wire fraud because they were dealing with people out of state and fraud. And what I don't get, why is illegal betting such a big deal now? Because it still is, by the way. There's still bookies all over the place taking bets. Are they offering different odds, or I don't understand it? Or is it the fact that you don't have to put the money up in advance? You can just make the bet, and if you lose and you don't pay, they come and break your legs. Or if you win, you just go pick it up. But there are so many ways to wager legally now. You can go into the casino, you can do it online, you can do it on the phone. I mean, the whole world is gambling now. Gambling and liquor, the whole world. I think it's the biggest mistake that professional sports has ever made, allowing gambling into their sphere. Forever they kept it out. And then they found out, wow, why are we letting them make all the money when we can do it? The NFL's got it with FanDuel and a million different ways to bet. And it ruins lives. I've seen it myself ruin some lives. And these people were just cheating. And the other thing is, these are rich people. They're making $15, $16 million a year playing basketball or being the coach or whatever. And still, is it a rush thing? Do they get a high off of cheating at cards or cheating the NBA? I don't get it. But they're done, and they're probably going to go to jail as well.
Zero bilicidity, zero bilibicity, zero bilibilil, bisilility, zero bilicibity. Ay, siya ka na!
I'm a big fan of some of Kenny Chesney's music. Kenny, he's a very unusual artist. He a good songwriter, but he doesn't tour traditionally like most artists do. He's an artist that has stadium power. So he goes out on the road every summer, late spring to the fall, and they do nothing but these gigantic stadium shows where you have 60 to 85,000 people or so, and they make all their money really, really quick, and he makes a ton of money doing it. But Kenny really is just a young country bumpkin from East Tennessee, and played football at some little town in East Tennessee, and he's talked about that, written songs about it and so forth. But pretty funny. He got a shout out on Instagram from Peyton Manning, and Peyton, I don't know, was it his birthday? Hold on a minute. I know what it was. He just got inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame. I'd forgotten. Kenny did. And so Peyton Manning gave him a shout out and said, hey, a long way from that time when you played at my apartment for me. So back when Peyton was at University of Tennessee, Kenny came and played just him and a guitar at Peyton's apartment. He posted this picture. How about that? You can tell it was a long time ago because they both still had a lot of hair. So Peyton's forehead is only about 3 feet tall instead of 5. And looks like Kenny may have already started to lose his hair because he's got the Atlanta Braves hat on. But still, pretty cool throwback picture. And a good shout out from Peyton Manning.
Every day, innocent animals are abused, beaten, and neglected. And they're crying out for help. Please, call the number on...
You gonna keep shitting in my shoes?
And join the BC SPCA with a monthly...
You all know who Marlon Brando was, the famous actor. He had some classic movies that are still revered today. And after he got famous, he became a real recluse. And he gained kind of like Orson Welles, he gained a tremendous amount of weight. And he moved away to Tahiti. About 17, 18 years ago, I went to Tahiti, to Bora Bora, and did this this boat tour where they take you all around the interior of the island on this boat, and they were pointing out this Marlon Brando estate that was there. It's where he used to live. And they said when he came there, he's very quiet. He just wanted to be left alone, and was a real nice guy, helped out people on the island. There's a Brando resort now on Bora Bora, by the way. But Marlon had quite a sex drive, apparently. Did you know? Because I didn't. Marlon Brando had 16 children. And it's believed that he is the father of a 17th child, a woman named Linda Carroll. Now, Linda went on to have a daughter named Courtney Love. So Marlon Brando could be Courtney Love's grandfather. It's possible. Isn't that crazy? 16 children by a slew of different women. I mean, once he got to Tahiti, I think he had children with several women on the island of Tahiti. But, we didn't see him forever. I think the last time I saw him was he granted Larry King an interview on the Larry King Show. Like, I think Larry had to go to his house and did the interview, but he was great. He sang and talked about everything, and just seemed like a great guy. Loved him in The Godfather, and just one of those great actors, great stars, and got so famous he became a recluse.
The next train will be approaching soon. Could the customer with the juicy melons please stand away from the yellow line? That's the customer with the juicy melons. Please stand away from the yellow line, sir. Thank you very much.
Well, it's deer season. Yeah, the woods are full of them. In fact, I post these videos where I'm walking in the woods every morning, talking about one thing or the other. And this is a Mecklenburg County, North Carolina, owns it. It's called the McDowell Nature Preserve. And at one point it was a big farm or something, and I guess the family donated it to the city, but it's on Lake Wiley. And they actually, now this is, it's a busy area. I mean, all around it's highly populated, subdivisions, 4-lane roads. Anyway, every year, never fails, I'll get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, drive over to the park, and the gates are closed, and it says closed for annual deer hunt. So they'll have a Monday and Tuesday, 2 times in November, where I don't know who the hunters are, but they bring in people and they kill deer, because the park is full of deer, and there's always, at least once a week, there's 1 or 2 dead deer on the highway. But they, in fact, I've been walking on a trail and saw blood. Now, I'm not a hunter myself. I went deer hunting, I don't know, I used to like dove hunt, quail hunt, but I never really got into the deer hunting, maybe because I sucked at it so bad. I went a few times, and it was just, sitting under a tree or in a tree, freezing to death with a high-powered rifle. It just wasn't a lot of fun for me. Maybe if you actually bag one and you get to eat it or whatever, it would be, but I never got into it. But I do know this, it can be a dangerous sport. Every year you read about guys that they take these tree stands that you buy them at Cabela's or Bass Pro Shop or whatever, but they go up in the tree, they jack them up in there, and they put on the safety. There's always some guy falling out of the tree stand, hitting limbs all the way down to the ground, and breaks his neck, breaks his back, winds up being paralyzed, or kills him in some cases. And then, of course, the other thing about hunting, I stopped dove hunting when one time I was in this field. I used to go dove hunting with Joe Gillibo, an old guy from Cedartown I knew, and we would go out to these dove fields with our shotguns. But one time I was at a dove field, and there were a lot of people there. And you're basically just sitting there waiting on the doves to fly into the field, and before they can land, everybody unloads on them. And I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden, everybody's unloading on these dove, and the shotgun pellets are landing all around me. I said, "Hey, hold up! I'm not a dove. I'm over." Anyway, that was the last time I had any interest in going. But I live right on the North and South Carolina border. We've had a hunting accident. A hunter was shot this past weekend while he was sitting in the deer stand. Now, I've heard of people walking through the woods and somebody shot them and said, "Well, I could have sworn it was a deer. It sounded just like one." And then the cops go, "Did you actually see?" "I thought I saw his head, but I guess I was wrong because it was a guy in an orange outfit." You always wonder, how could you mistake somebody in a bright orange outfit for a deer? But it happens every year. But this guy, he's up in a tree in the deer stand, and he still gets lit up by somebody's deer rifle.
Deputies now say a hunting accident was actually a family member who accidentally shot the victim next door. Deputies releasing those details today on that shooting that happened Sunday. One person was shot in Anderson County. Now, it was initially believed to be a hunting accident, but now we're told a family member next door shot a gun without a proper backstop. That's when the victim was shot. They are expected to be okay, and deputies say that the victim decided to not press charges against their family member.
I'm trying to figure out the angles there. So if he's next door on another piece of property, and he's shooting his rifle, sighting it in, or whatever you call that, and he didn't have the proper backstop, how did the bullet rise up in the air and go up into the tree stand? It sounds pretty shaky and suspicious to me, particularly because it's a family member. But whatever. Shot while sitting in the tree stand. And then you hear about the guys that lean their gun up against the fence or whatever while they're climbing over, and the gun falls and shoots them. Hunting is dangerous, not just for the deer, but for the hunters themselves. You got to be careful out there.
I remember when my cousin told me he'd become a stripper. I thought, there ain't no way. And then we come home one day, he'd strip a copper and gutters plumb off our house and sold them for scrap.
I mentioned this gambling probe that's going on at the start of the podcast, and Stephen A. Smith of ESPN, he's blaming President Trump for it. You know, Stephen A. is dabbling in politics now. He has, in addition to all his sports reporting, he has a podcast where he does some Democratic podcasting. And he sort of positions himself as a Democratic centrist. This is kind of the craziest thing I've heard him say. He was on First Take Thursday, claimed that Trump is coming to arrest and imprison anyone who disagrees with him, which was, of course, the practice during the Biden years. They would raid your house with the SWAT team and arrest you and cuff you and drag you away, go through your wife's underwear drawer and find nothing and come up with some bogus charges, which were later dropped. They did it over and over and over again. But Smith is just totally off base on this. I mean, they've got the goods on these people, and the mafia's involved. But he said Trump has a long history connected to the world of sports because of those casinos. I saw it, and I didn't get his point. I'm not a big fan of Stephen A. Smith. It has nothing to do. I'm not a huge sports fan anyway, but I don't like his style of yelling. You know, he starts his show and he's real like, it seems like he's always yelling and throwing his arms around. It's just not my cup of tea. He's really good at what he does. Obviously, he's very successful. I'm more of a Colin Cowherd man if I am going to watch a sports reporter.
And now, the Jack Murphy Deep Thought of the Day. Some people are like slinkies. They don't really have a purpose, but they still bring a smile to your face when you push them down the stairs.
All right, we've all seen the video of the Chicago school teacher who, during the No King celebration, there was a Turning Point USA person there in a T-shirt or whatever, and she's going, phew, phew. bang, bang, clearly mimicking somebody getting shot in the throat, a la Charlie Kirk. And she's still employed, by the way, as a teacher at the Northern Hill Elementary School in Chicago. And the principal of the school is more concerned about the teacher than they are what the teacher did. The principal painted the teacher accused of mocking the assassination of Charlie Kirk as a victim in a letter sent out to the community. Isn't it amazing how they can take something that anybody with any common sense can look at and say, that's wrong. That person doesn't need to be educating young minds. That person is advocating violence. That person is condoning violence. That person's condoning assassination and murder. And here she is, an elementary school teacher. Would you want your child going in her classroom? I certainly wouldn't. But in a letter sent to the school community, which is obtained by the New York Post, the principal, Dawn Isles Gomez, bemoaned threats made against the teacher, but made no mention of what the educator had done, nor any discipline she had received or they had planned for her to receive. She said, we were made aware of social media posts with language that resemble a potential threat to a staff member. We're taking all potential threats seriously to ensure the safety of our school community. Pow, pow. I guess that's not covered under the potential threat or anything like that. So, again, the world is upside down. That's the problem. The world is upside down. And it appears to be a giant upside-down pineapple cake in big Democratic cities like Chicago, Portland, Seattle, New York, San Francisco, et al. Unbelievable. Well, by now you've seen the uproar. There was a press conference yesterday at the White House, and with all the stuff that's going on in the world, you've got huge new sanctions that the president has announced against Russia. He's taken the gloves off against Russia. You've got the hostages just been released by Hamas, and the Middle East is still a hot spot. The ceasefire is tenuous at best. You've got all these peace deals that have gotten done. You've got new tariffs on China, and we're still bickering with Canada. I mean, there's a million big, important things to go, and you go into a press room with 50 press members, and what do you think the only thing they want to talk about and try to make him look bad, make the president look bad about? It's the ballroom they're building at the White House, which the president and private donors are paying for. And they make it sound like they tore down the White House. Now, if you want to get in deeper than most people do, there are satellite photos online you can go look at, or you can go look at schematics. The East Wing colonnade and the East Wing weren't even part of the White House. They were additions that were added on. And so they removed that, and then they're going to have a colonnade that goes out to this ballroom. And it's going to be a wonderful facility in the future for all future presidents, and an asset for America that didn't cost the taxpayers anything. But, you know, they're throwing questions like, can the president just tear down anything like the Jefferson Memorial, the Washington Monument? Is he free to do that without congressional approval? And the answer is no. But this is not anything new. Look at, here's a news report of how differently the press covers things depending on which party is in office. Watch this.
Sounds like you're building another wing to the White House, but we appreciate you keeping your focus.
You can't even imagine, TJ. It's going to happen for the next 2 years. All of the banging, the jackhammering, the dust, the confusion, the noise of all places to do construction is happening right here, the front lawn of the White House.
It's a 4-year renovation project,
Estimated cost, $376 million.
Mm-hmm. So that was some remodeling that Obama did. The only difference was it cost $376 million of taxpayer money. But they covered it like it was wonderful. It was going to be messy, but it was going to be good in the end. But with President Trump, no, it's terrible, no matter what it is. Again, the man could announce a cure for cancer tomorrow, and the news would say, he's trying to kill us with a cancer cure. I mean, the bias is just unbelievable. If you get a chance, go on YouTube or whatever and watch the press conference from yesterday. It's embarrassing. And I'll tell you what, another thing really angers me. Half of these reporters, I don't even think they're American reporters. I think they're foreign press. They have British or Australian accents. I don't think they work for the American press. But if I were the press secretary, I would just say, we're going to stick with American reporters today. Thank you for being here, though. Next. I want to wrap up the Fun Time Friday podcast, the Jack Murphy podcast, with a piece of video that might surprise you. Did you know? I bet you didn't. Did you know? Oh, before we get to that, the other thing Trump did, he sent out a hilarious tweet. Hillary Clinton has been tweeting on X that the president is destroying the White House. And Trump said he copied her tweet and sent it out and said, your husband had oral sex with an intern in the White House. I thought it was pretty funny. But anyway, did you know that Bill Clinton was the original MAGA member? Did you know that? Look at this montage I found last night.
I believe that together we can make America great again. To secure a better future for your children and your grandchildren, and to make America great again.
I want to attack these problems and make America great again.
It's time for another comeback. Time to make America great again.
Surprised? How come we're just now seeing that? I just saw it last night for the first time. It's crazy. Monday, I've got a great video I'll play for you with Hillary Clinton talking about immigration. She sounded just like Trump a few years ago. It's amazing. Well, anyway, we're out of time. I want to thank you for being part of today's Jack Murphy podcast. And again, if you don't have a YouTube account, open one. It doesn't cost a penny to open one, and then you can subscribe to the podcast. It's free. I'm not asking you for anything. Like the video, and if you want, you can choose to or not. You'll get a notification when we have a new episode of the Jack Murphy podcast. And I hope you have a very great weekend.
Thanks for watching the Jack Murphy Podcast. Remember to like, subscribe, and ring that bell. Go ahead, ring it. Get alerts when a new episode drops. And tell your friends about the Jack Murphy Podcast. But only the cool friends, please. Tune in next time for another episode of the Jack Murphy Podcast.